It is indeed a joy to be back at the Hope Global Forum. You know, when John invited me to come back and offered me an opportunity to speak or to interview, I chose to interview this year because there's so much exciting that these two women are doing that I think will be helpful to so many of you who are looking to start businesses and those of you who've recently started your businesses as well. The incredible thing that I think John is doing is he's bringing in, engaging at a very C-suite decision-making level, people who are able to understand and interact with those of us on our begin of our rise up, and making sure that that connection isn't just one through verticals of other people, but these CEOs are actually getting in and understanding and doing the work. And I believe that's the solution the world needs, and John is starting it. When you come to Atlanta, when John brings Hope Forum to Atlanta, he brings the world to Atlanta. So thank you for welcoming us, and thank you to everybody who's streaming in. We want to start out by making sure that I share with you something said by each of these women that dynamically impacted me. Now, I'm going to share with you, first of all, something that Miss Sheena said, because I really value what she's doing. Sheena started Capway. And Capway, she can talk with you about how they're working with communities and understanding that both their millennial and their elder generation populations are a part of it. But the statement that she made that I'm going to lean in and question her on today is this. It's my very favorite Sheena quote. She says, "Understanding the problem and understanding the people are two different things." So given that we're talking about starting a business or building a business forward in those first years, Ms. Sheena, why do you think that was so impactful for Capway? And fundamentally, it appears that Capway's actually built your business practice from this belief.
Yes. Well, I'm from a really small town in Mississippi, Terry, Mississippi, and I started this company when I would see my grandmother keep her money in her sock at her home. She didn't trust the banks, and we only had one bank in my city anyway, so it wasn't like we had lots of access to banking.
But we had those ladies in North Carolina stick the money right,
yes,
pull the sock out before church.
You know, in the mattress, in the in the seat. So when I started Capway, it really came from my first experience of my first startup in Silicon Valley, and in starting the second company, I wanted to find a way to disrupt the financial industry so that the next generation of millennials, Generation Z, they would have access even through technology, even if they didn't have the access, at a bank down the road. And so it was about how do we bridge that gap between the underserved market and the new cashless economy. And the biggest competitive advantage that we had as a company, that I had as a founder, was when the other big companies are now trying to get into financial inclusion, they're really going based off like research or what they're finding and what they're seeing. Whereas with me personally, I had family and friends who came from that market. I knew what it was like for my grandmother to go to a payday lender. I knew it was like for my uncle to go to a check cash in place. So my 100%, my biggest competitive advantage was understanding the people over the problem. Because when you understand the people, understand the psychological effects of not having that same access to banking, it made me build that company differently.
I believe you're onto something here. In our organization, we say where we are engaged in putting people to work, we say that the applicant, the candidate, is the center of the universe. And you're understanding who's the center of your universe as well. So I think that's really important. In any business, not just your business, Miriam Frost of Stellar Yoga, now you've got a statement that I enjoyed as well. You said, don't let your guard down just because money is not being used. Tell us how you're applying that in Stellar.
Absolutely. So when I first opened the studio, of course, I didn't have at the time a lot of resources, financial resources. However, I do have a lot of friends, and I started to meet people that were very good in specific areas. For example, I know someone who does newsletters really well. I know someone who does bookkeeping really well. So what I did was I bartered in maintenance, even maintenance and cleaning the studio. So instead of putting my finances into those areas, I bartered with those folks for classes. So I gave them classes, they have a membership to the studio, and they would take classes, but they would return it through work. And the thing that's important is that sometimes folks may take advantage of that because they feel like, you know, they're kind of lax and they may not clean the studio as well or something like that. However, you still have to let them know that this is a business. So we are not exchanging money financially, but we are exchanging a service for another service. So it's just as good as money. So you have to do the same good job that you would if you were getting paid, because technically you are getting paid because I'm not charging you a membership to come to the studio and take classes. So I just wanted my folks to know that were doing these type of bartering with me, that they clearly understood that it was a job. And it was not something to be played with. And then once we are established and we can have other positions for you in the company where there would be money earned, you know, cash earned, then we would definitely upgrade them to that. But I needed to make that established clear with them when I brought them on.
That sounds like what a lot of people used to do back in the day.
Yes.
I want to make sure that you're giving them, Miriam, an opportunity to understand how to do that and how to do that legally before the tax man shows up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for the most part, I think it's family and friends, you know, and then after a while, they start to generate revenue once they're established on my system. For at least, if they can show me that they're doing 3 months and they're able to work and then they're going to be committed, they're getting paid. So
Okay.
I just need to gain that loyalty and understanding that we're in this together. And if you're going to do this with me, I'm going to do this with you, and then I grow, you grow.
Now, Sheena, you engaged in some Hope activity as well to get your business started and to help you, some Global Hope Forum activity actually, to help you get your business started. And you also participated in several competitions to gain capital. There are a lot of business owners who are not aware of just what Hope Global can do to help them, nor some of the competitions that you engaged that truly helped you to build forward. Can you talk a little bit about that? And remember, we have an audience who's watching, who we're streaming to, and I happen to know that several hundred of them are looking to learn from you how to start a business in this way, or how to get a business funded.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, the first thing is when people start a business, most people run and say, I'm trying to get investment dollars, VC dollars, which venture capitalist dollars. And there's so many other ways to get money. And so for me, while we are a VC-backed company, we are backed by venture capitalists, we also either work with, we're really big on B2B, so business to business. So if that's working with someone like Hope, if that's working with another service provider, but it's also taking advantage of even pitch competitions. So there's competition that goes on all the time, especially even now for women. It's really big on having, a lot of people do women competitions, especially tech or any other type of sector. So we do a lot of pitch competitions. I'm always signed up for anytime something's going on. I get an email that's Google Alerts. So if you don't know what Google Alerts is, go to Google, put in anything from like pitch competition, business competition, anything. Sometimes something comes up like that, you'll get the alert actually in your email, and I take advantage of that. And then sometimes it's joining different networks. So either it's like Hope, you can get their newsletter. The example for me, Women in Tech, I get their newsletter. And so getting those, always staying up to date, building that network, and taking advantage of pitch competitions. Because usually it's also equity-free money. So you're not having to give up equity, which you have
Say
to.
that again.
It's equity-free money. So when you take money from VCs, they're taking a piece of your company. Your baby becomes less of your baby every time you take that money. But a lot of times when you're doing pitch competitions, it is it's equity-free money. So when you get that grand prize for $50,000, $100,000, that is equity-free money. You can definitely take that and build.
Well, you know, Sheena, that's so interesting, your point about making sure that you understand the difference between equity-free money and other forms. There's a woman here, I know she's attending Hope Global today, and her name is Dr. Mary Flowers. Now, she started a company in the energy sector, and she's utilizing government funding as a way to promote her business as well, to build it forward. She's doing incredible work where she's taking plants out of Africa and using them as a fuel source And that fits within the STEM that you're speaking about and that you work within science, technology, engineering, and math. It also speaks well, though, for companies who are not in that sector. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you gained funding? Because you actually walked away, Miriam, from a quite productive executive role to start your business.
Correct. So I worked for a company, First Data. So I was there for 20 years, 21 years. So basically, I was at the point of retirement. So don't count. I started in First Data when I was in Pampers, so,
Okay.
so don't count my age. So, but I was actually on the brinks of retirement, and I had been doing the yoga thing and the empowerment thing, and I just loved it so much. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna keep doing this? And because I felt like all I could learn in First Data, I was in operations. We were the eyes and ears of everything in the company. So, and I learned so many aspects: legal, finance, marketing, products. So there was so many areas that I touched. So I had an opportunity to work so many different areas and talk to so many people. And I learned, I'm like, okay, I can do this in my sleep now. Now, why don't I take it and put it in something that I love? So, and that's what I did. I transferred that energy and I put it in something that I love. I took my retirement fund and my 401k and I took it all with me, and Stella Power was born. So I went in debt-free. So I had a couple of friends.
You went in debt-free.
Debt-free. Debt-free. I have no debt now, but now I'm more established. I'm 2.5 years later, 2 years later, now I'm ready to expand, and I clearly understand it's time to expand. Now it's time to start going out and getting those loans that I need to expand more locations. But I love the concept that I have now, because I'm going to my investors, I'm going to the banks and saying, I have no debt free, but look what I've done in a year. I've doubled my projected volume. So now I'm ready to open more locations. But for the most part, it's been a transfer of energy, working with people that are close to me, family members who were supportive. Some folks, just to let you know, some folks may not be so supported in your dream at first, but you show them and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. So that's important, I think, to share with entrepreneurs.
I think Oprah just did a commencement speech, and she spoke about that when people don't really see you in your common, I'm paraphrasing, when they don't see you in your common relationship to them, they may become afraid or less supportive when you begin to do the uncommon things, the things that Hope Global Forum are encouraging.
And I just want to say, too, when I attended the Hope Global Forum, I opened in May 2017, and I attended Hope Global Forum to learn more. I had already the business. I wanted to learn more and understand better. So that was September 2018. From then to now, my credit score increased 70 points.
Woo!
So I was in operations all my life and took care of family and everything, but there was things that I did not know about how credit worked.
Yes.
So here I have a business. I got to go get that credit score up because I want to expand what I'm doing.
When I met John many years ago, it was at Fame, First AME Church in Los Angeles. Fame in the house. And he was so invested in the community and looking at how he was paying it forward. He's a tither as well. He was paying it forward. And he was looking at how do we encourage entrepreneurship in everyone in our community, right? Because we're not growing up in households always and recognizing it when we see it. My brother Carlton said to me years ago when I asked him to join my organization, he had dreams of starting his own company. And he identified how to brand himself inside of a company in readiness and found his own entrepreneurial opportunity inside of a company. There are many people who may not start their companies but need to understand that individually they are brands.
Yes.
How would you speak to that?
That's actually my family. When I first started my company, I wanted to be an artist growing up. I would draw and paint. My dad told me I was going to be a bartender. So he was like, I'm from the deep South. It was like, you don't want to take a risk. My dad's like 9 to 5, you have a degree. And I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur, Dad. He's like, you're going to be a bartender. Go get a job. But first company, this is my second company. We just recently moved here to Atlanta. But I find where like now my siblings are kind of like, okay, I want to go out and, do my own thing. I want to be an entrepreneur. And so it's like, I'm actually the youngest, but now I lead the pack.
Yeah.
And so I actually hired my sister when we moved to Atlanta actually in January from Silicon Valley. And one of the first hires I hired was actually my sister, who was actually unbanked when she first started working for me.
And I think it's really helpful too, if you'll share a little bit, Sheena, about your experience and your learnings around the unbanked and the underbanked. And all of you who are following us, as we're streaming, you got to bubble up if you've got questions or a particular interest in something they're talking about, because Hope Global Forum is paying attention to where your needs are.
Yes, so the unbanked, underbanked, that really came from people in my community never using banks. So I was very clear on why people are unbanked. It's a few reasons. Sometimes it's trust, sometimes it's lack of opportunity, sometimes it's lack of access. My sister actually didn't have a bank account because she had messed up a bank account when she was young. My sister's 40 now. So in her 20s, she, did some things she shouldn't have done, just never got a bank account again. And she was always working like in and odd jobs all the time. And so by leading the pack, being the first person in my family to kind of follow this journey, I hired her when I got here. And I said, you're going to get a bank account with Capway. And then we're going to teach you. She watches me, and it's funny to say I'm the youngest, but she watches me, and she's always like, okay, I'm going to work for you, I'm going to learn, I have my bank account, I'm going to build financial health. Now I want to go out and do my own thing eventually. But people who are unbanked, it's really hard to underbank because we're in a cashless economy. You can't go pay cash for Spotify. You can't go pay cash to catch an Uber. We're moving to a cashless economy, and you have to think there's 25 million people in America who are unbanked. There's over 50 million people in America who are underbanked. When you put total of even underserved, it's about over 90 million Americans.
Not that long ago, my executive aide then, Shari, and I were in Sweden, and we found it difficult to find places that could take cash. So I think that you really need to push home that point around making certain that we're utilizing not just the technologies that support us there, but that we're utilizing and gaining the knowledge around how we stay clear as we continue to build our financial wealth.
Yes, I mean, it's, we talk about black tax a lot, even in in our community. And there's certain things that John spoke about it before we came up here. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And that's one of the biggest things that we see when we do Capways. Sometimes just people simply don't know. They just don't have the opportunity. They don't have the access. And when it comes to people who are unbanked, they have completely been left on the outside of traditional banking. And it's time that that's changed. And that was one of the main missions of starting Capway.
I'm so excited about what you're doing. And I'm excited about what you're doing as well, because you're appreciating what it means to be in business, and you were very business in the operations side of enterprise. And now you're earning money and helping others to participate. I think you initiated an opportunity for people to have pre-memberships as a form of alternatives to money.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did, so we have where if they want to help out, we do something called Karma Yoga. If they want to help out and they can't afford it, because I wanted to make yoga accessible to as many people as possible. So if they couldn't afford it, they would do some of the work in the studio, and then they would be able to take classes. But I think that one of the most important things...
It feels really good, the community investment side of that.
It is. And it's interesting because I was one of those people that was payday loan. So I totally understand. And it's not just a certain people. There's so many people that need to reach out to those areas because they don't have the financial knowledge to get themselves out of it, because it becomes like a reoccurring thing that you keep doing to stay on top. So I think now, here's one thing I noticed for sure, is since I've opened my business, there's several people that would come to me and now they want to be business owners. So it's inspiring other people that's coming in and they say, oh, I'm starting one lady has a cookie business now. She comes to the studio. Someone else is she did a counseling. She's doing entrepreneurship counseling. So I feel really good because it makes me feel like people are saying, she can do it, I can do it. And it's just, one person saying, yes, you can do it, that's going to help you keep pushing forward. And so that's another thing that we do at the studio. We teach yoga, but we teach empowerment. We can do
when
it.
you say yes, you can, we remember about what can means. We remember that on so many levels, not just presidential elections,
Yes.
right? John wants us to have a learning moment
Yes.
in every instance of our conversation. Give us your best thought to all of my next gens and all of my millennials who, and by the way, all of my gray hairs as well, who are looking to express themselves and start that business.
I will leave with, don't set out to prove anybody wrong. A lot of times when you have the idea and you don't have the support, you always kind of like, well, I'm gonna prove that person wrong.
Got it.
No, if you stay on the course to prove yourself right, you'll get much further.
And you in 20 seconds, Miss
And to
Miriam.
me, it's stay true to your ethics. Don't change because you're making a lot of money, or don't change your criteria because you're trying to get somebody on board with you that you want to work with. Stay true to your ethics no matter how much money is put in front of you. Stay true to who you are because that's what got you where you are. So in order for you to grow, you have to stay consistent with that.
Hope Global followers, you've learned that you need to know where to get the money. An idea is not enough, but an idea can seed great investment. Everybody doesn't get it when you're about to start, but it's important for you to stay on path, invest in the community and allow the community to invest in you. Give as you're building up, in other words. And as a final point, I think it's really important for you to understand that no matter, and this is my personal mantra in life, never compromise yourself to become who never compromise yourself to become who you wish to be professionally. You're inside of a really different world today, but in many ways it's the same as it was at a time in history past. So make sure we're understanding how to move forward in this moment, make sure we're understanding how to build forward in this moment, and harness all that's offered us. Stay connected with Hope Global because there's a lot going on that will continue to teach you. And just because you're millennial and next gen, don't believe that we gray hairs aren't paying attention as well. This is the first time in history where every generation is competing for the same thing at the same level. Let's compete together and let's win together. And thank you guys for welcoming Sheena and Miriam to the stage. Thank you.